nicely along. Expression is another thing that people often are concerned about. How to be expressive, how to be engaging speakers when it comes to using their voice. And there are a lot of different things that you can actually look at and concentrate on. I put these up here sort of as a list, partly just to get your mind going. In terms of when we think of trying to be expressive, we don't necessarily think of all these variations. Variations in intonation or pitch. You can talk really high in your voice, or you can talk really low in your voice. And using those to different extents can help you to be expressive. Using consonants and vowels can also be very effective. You can just say whisper, or you can actually say whisper. And certainly you're not going to do that in all contexts, but realizing you have that capacity to use vowels and consonants differently is important. Speed can be very important for you as well. It's difficult to be expressive if you're speaking really fast. But at the same point, speaking really fast can make a point, especially if you slow down at the end of it. So thinking about how you use speed as a tool when you're using your voice can be helpful. Volume obviously can also be important, and using volume for effect can be very helpful too. Sometimes if you're losing an audience, starting to speak really quietly can help to re-articulate their attention, if that makes sense. Can draw their attention again by varying things like that. And then certainly changing any of these, adding pauses, highlighting important words. Now when it comes to expression, really the important thing is you just have to practice. But when you're trying to figure out how to be more expressive, doing things like reading children's stories, reading different types of writing can actually be really helpful. One workshop that I've done with people, we actually take different types of academic writing and try reading them out loud. And you'd be amazed the difference even within academic styles of writing. Some are incredibly easy to read out loud and actually invite different types of expression because of their use of say, italics or the use of questions, whereas others don't. And thinking about how the way you write, or the way you write notes for presentation or a lecture, might actually invite expression or constrain your expression can be really helpful as well. So when it comes to expression and using your voice, it's not something just to think about when you're in the process of using your voice, but actually beforehand you can think about it and think about how you can encourage yourself to be expressive, say by highlighting important words that you want to express, or writing in pauses where you're actually going to take some time. So reading different types of texts can be really helpful, help you to pick up where you're naturally expressive and how you can use that in other situations. So part of it is about realizing the ways that you are actually expressive and encouraging them in other situations, and part of it is about just thinking about how you can incorporate this into things you're already doing. And as I say, practice is really important. The more you pay attention to the way you use your voice, and the way you are expressive, the more you can use that information to help yourself become more expressive. And the more aware you are of what you already do, the more space there is for figuring out how you can do something slightly different. So just to end off, I've got a brief quote here that is sort of trying to encourage you. This is from Kristen Linklater, who's written a book that's very helpful actually. And she says, it often happens that when I'm in the presence of people who intimidate me intellectually or socially, I feel stupid and can't think of anything to say. At the same time, I may notice that I'm hardly breathing, that my stomach muscles are tense, and that my buttock muscles have tightened. When I relax my buttocks, I immediately become more intelligent and find all sorts of things to talk about. Try it! So I thought it was particularly appropriate, given the fact that we're at a conference. She does actually link this to breathing and why it might work. But really, I just want to encourage you. You can change your voice. You can do things about it. And there's no harm in trying. So that's about it for me. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Does anyone have any questions? I mean, it can be about, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, speeding up when you're presenting, and you've got any tips for slowing yourself down? I can't help it, I'm just like a runaway train.
I mean, it all depends. All these things are sort of, it's a matter of a bank of tools and see which ones work for you. Certainly trying to breathe or concentrating on how you breathe, taking time to breathe more at the beginning. Sometimes it's that sense of nerves as you start and then you just race away. If you sit down and consciously take a few minutes to breathe, even once you've got up there and you've been introduced, you can take a few deep breaths, take your time, nobody's going anywhere, and sometimes that can help. The other thing is to, depending how you structure your notes, is to actually just draw points where you're going to stop and pause for a second. Sometimes people actually, if they're reading a paper, have a point where they'll stop and say something off the cuff, and that can help to change the pace or help you to slow down. Even just writing, say if you're using presentation slides like I was today, even if you just write in huge letters at the bottom, stop at the bottom of one slide, and make yourself pause, and then start again. Sometimes it's that sense of momentum that we start going and then we just keep going. The other thing is just to realize in terms of the psychological aspect of it, that you don't have to speak quickly to communicate your enthusiasm. Because sometimes we associate those things. You know, it's like when we're a kid and we come home, it's like, Mommy, oh my gosh, I saw this today, I'm so excited. And that sense of like energy and going fast, we associate. So it's also realizing that you can communicate your interest and enthusiasm without having to be fast. So sometimes that can be helpful too, and just realizing, wow, yeah, maybe I was trying to be exciting and expressive, but I associated excitement and expression with speed, which it doesn't have to be. So it's really a matter of playing with things like that until you can find something that works for you to help you slow down.